Well, thanks so much, Michelle, for joining me today. I'm so excited that you're here, and I'm super excited to learn more about you and your journey. And so, before we dive in, if you could just introduce yourself and give us a little more about who you are and what your business is about.
Sure. So my name is Michelle Charpentier. I'm the founder of Charp Consulting. I actually launched my business during COVID while I was pregnant with my daughter during the pandemic. I had been working in corporate retail for, 15 plus years and I always kind of had something on the side. So I found my opportunity where I could make my kind of side hustle into my full-time job. So I've been doing that for the past several years. I predominantly support female-owned businesses and fellow moms in business with their marketing and business strategies.
Oh, awesome. So, marketing and business strategy, that's also I do as well. So, how did
Yes,
you get
yes.
into, how did you get into like the marketing and business aspect of everything?
Yeah, when I went to college, I studied arts, entertainment, media management, and I wasn't really quite sure what I wanted to do with my degree. At first, initially went into it because I wanted to work for a record label. I wanted to do A&R, but during that time, 2006 to 2009 is when I was in college. People were, making their own demos and doing everything on their MacBooks. So my career that I thought I was going to have, I realized like wasn't really possible in the dream that I kind of had when I was in high school. So I still decided to pursue arts management and business management. And then through that, I just kind of dove into like whatever opportunity I had. So I kind of fell into this industry of special events, fashion show production. And I really found my love and passion for that. And so after I graduated, I continued to work in fashion show production, special events. I, work with New York Fashion Week and a bunch of other small companies and some large companies. And so I'd always been kind of the one behind the scenes, right? Like I never really liked to be in the limelight, but I love to produce the events and, network and get people's art out there, their music out there, whatever their craft was. So when it came to creating something of my own, I really just leaned into what I knew and how I could serve people and help businesses. And when it was during the pandemic, I was seeing a lot of mom and pop businesses that couldn't sustain their business because they didn't have a website, they didn't have social media, they didn't have an email list, they didn't have content, they didn't have a way to reach their customer because they depended so much on foot traffic. And so I saw an opportunity where I could help those in my community and even friends of mine through personal branding efforts, where they could kind of reach their customer or help them find the job that they were looking for just through those like marketing and business strategies that I had applied, in my freelance world, but also in my corporate experience, and just kind of pared it down to how it would work and benefit their needs.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And so you have your degree in like marketing and communications, and then it wasn't until after the pandemic or during the pandemic where you kind of started your own thing. Um,
I was always doing it unofficially, like just kind of for fun. While I was working my full-time corporate job, it was just something I loved to do. I was always a part of New York Fashion Week and like I said, supporting friends of mine that might have things going on, and I just like needed to fill that creative void in my life. So when it came time to launching something of my own, yeah, like I said, I mean, I kind of just leaned into what I knew, and that's like what I knew and what I loved. And if I was going to create something for myself, I mean, I wanted to do something that I love to do. So
mhm.
that was it.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah. And so starting like during the pandemic, what would you say were like some challenges that you kind of faced to like really go, because you're full time now, right?
Yeah. This is my gig. During the pandemic, well, there were so many obstacles because I this opportunity came about because I was laid off from my corporate job, as everyone I think kind of was. So it was that was a challenge in itself, because that was like the first time I had not ever been like steadily employed by someone ever since I was, 15. I mean, even 14, I was working at a babysitter, but my first retail jobs, I was 15, 16 years old, and I had just always had a job through college, through high school, everything. And so that was the challenge of like needing to figure out where your income was going to come from. That was like your steady, dependable income. And then it was also, it was a very uncertain time that, a lot of people weren't necessarily trying to make investments in themselves or in their companies. So I had to be really strategic about my service offerings and my partnerships, and all while trying to discover myself as a new business owner and then as a new mom. Like I gave birth to both at the same time, So there was like a lot of just uncertainty in general, I think, was like the biggest challenge for me, is, trying to figure it all out.
Yeah. And so with that, like giving birth to your business baby and then also your human baby, how like that had to have been like there had to have been like a lot that you had to balance in that time to like really dedicate the time to your newborn, but then also still dedicate time to do the things that you need to do in your business.
Oh yeah, yeah. And I am so thankful for just having a supportive family and supportive friends and network of people that, as crazy as everything was and as crazy as it may have seemed to kind of like start launching something brand new at that time, not even being a new mom, but even just at the time of the middle of the pandemic, having the support system that was just kind of like giving me the encouragement to just go ahead and pursue it, because that's really what I wanted to do. Like there was no other option for me, because, there was a point where I, had launched the business, and then, I had taken some other employment, but I always was like, my business was top of mind, and that was like the dream. And I'm like, this is my dream. Like, how do I make this a reality? And there were times where I, would try to get a full-time job working, but I was never like so motivated in that, because that just wasn't really what I wanted to do. Like, and I think that was a little bit of a struggle for me too, because it was going against like everything that I had kind of was taught, right? It's like you go to school, you get a job, and that's kind of like what it is. And my family is not against entrepreneurship by any means, but I didn't really have like a roadmap or like a model. So it was very scary to just kind of go out there and have to figure it out on my own, and just go against like everything that I was kind of like had planned to do. Right. It's like, like that was just such a we like it's a cool opportunity, because you really get to kind of make your path how you want it, but it's also really scary too, because there's no real right way to go about it. You just have to do what's right for you. So yeah, having a support system is just so important, because it's what keeps you motivated to move forward.
Yeah. And it sounds like aside from the support system and the family that you had, your like guiding light was like you feeling unfulfilled with the things that you were doing with other companies. So how, like, what, beyond that, like what kept you going? Was it just your passion for like not wanting to be at the, the corporate offices, or, working for other people? What was like, what kept you going in those moments?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, motherhood just changed me completely. And once I got a taste of just like being with my daughter all the time, I was like, nothing can keep me away from just like being with her. Like, I was like, I need to create a life where I can still pursue my professional aspirations, because, I don't believe that I have to choose, but I want to create a life where I can work from home, so I can, see her first steps and watch her crawl. And now she's 4 now, and so she's like writing and drawing, and I get to actually be a part of these special moments with her. And so I knew that I had to always be there for my kid. Like that was just like a non-negotiable for me. So creating a life where I can pursue my professional aspirations, like I said, but also have the flexibility of creating a schedule that would help me be a present mom and a really involved mother. And you know, I'm a firm believer that everything happens for a reason. And you know, when I was in my 20s, if I got rejected from something like a job opportunity, I would take it so hard. But now that I'm a little bit older and wiser, I do recognize that they're redirections. And so there were little things that were also happening kind of after I launched my business where, you know, maybe like I was saying, I was kind of like half in, half out, like, do I go back to work or do I really try to do this? Like, am I ready? Am I not? Am I scared? Yeah, but like, should I keep going? Like, so I would try, like, I would have an interview or something, and then it didn't work out. And I was just like, it's a sign, like, that's a sign that like I was not meant to do that. And I need to really keep focusing. Like I need to stop wasting time trying to find a job working for someone else. Like it's just a distraction away from my dream to have something and build something of my own. So that was also something that kept me going too, is just like having those redirections to keep me focused on what my goals are and what my dream would be to build my business. Yeah. So family and little hints that I would get from the world that I'm on the right track.
Yeah, and I love that you mentioned that too, because like I feel the same way. Like you know, and I don't know if it's because I'm an introvert and you know, I call myself an introvert, but a lot of people say, girl, you are not an introvert. But I really feel like I am. And I don't know like why you know, when rejection comes, like it really hits me hard. It hits me hard because I feel like I resonate a lot with you because I was in the same boat. Like, you know, started off doing marketing. I got back into, you know, working for a marketing agency, was laid off also in that. And then it was like, okay, these are signs. These are signs that I'm supposed to go out and do what I've been saying that I've been wanting to do.
Yes.
And so it is all about that redirection. And it's about also, I feel like, you know, being aware and listening to the redirections that I feel like it's God giving you the redirection in those moments and in your life to really put you back in alignment and on the path that you're supposed to be on.
100%. I agree. 100%. And even like when you're in it, you know, if, you know, even if you're not an entrepreneur, right? And if we're just taking the topic that we're discussing about just employment and jobs in general. And, you know, there have been over the course of my life, and I'm sure yours and many others, where, you know, we're the final round of interviews and we're like, I got this. Like, there's no way I don't have this job, right? Like, I need this job. I'm excited. And then I find out later, like, so then you don't get the job or whatever, and you feel crushed, right? You're devastated. You feel like blindsided because you're like, how did that happen? Like, how on earth did I not get it? And there have been a few times in my life where I find out that, you know, I don't get the opportunity that I thought I was going to get. And like a month or so later, the business goes bankrupt. Or there was another situation where the division that I was going to be overseeing, they moved from New York, where I live, and they moved cross country. So I would have had to leave the job anyway, because I was not going to leave, you know, New York. That's where my family is. So, you know, you might not see it when you're in it. You're like, God, why'd that happen? But that's why it happened, because you would have been without a job in a few months, or you would have had to make a really tough decision to maybe uproot your whole life and have to move in a different state. And then maybe that wasn't your plan. Like, you know, so there's always someone looking out, and you don't see it always, but in hindsight, you look back and you're like, man, I dodged a bullet there. I'm glad I was redirected. It was a rejection, but I was really redirected. And then something better comes along, you know? So yeah, all these experiences, like, again, I think it's something that comes with just being older and wiser probably, and just having experienced so much of just like life, but also rejection and like pivots in my life. And, just exploring different opportunities and seeing like, what do I like and what I don't like. And so I can be really mindful about the decisions that I'm making in my life now as a business owner too, as a mother and also as a business owner, because of these different experiences that I've gone through. And coaching also, and I'm sure you can relate with this, with your coaching that you do with your clients, similarly with mine and mentorship too, it's having had different experiences, you can really add so much value and support with your client because you understand, like you've been there before.
100%.
You can really talk about it, So yeah, it's a cool thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And with that, so like you've been doing this for a while, especially like having your own business and then also before your entrepreneurial journey and also freelancing. What do you feel like, throughout all of this has been like your biggest win or like, what is something that's impacted your business and then also your personal life at the same time?
Yeah. Ooh, that's a hard question. Honestly, as a solopreneur, something that I really missed was working on a team and like having a team, because in my corporate life, I was always working in collaboration with team members cross-functionally, or I would have people underneath me that I got to mentor. And so because I missed it, that's how I actually got into mentorship, where, I serve as a professional mentor for young professionals and also just women in business, voluntarily, just because it's something that's so important to me. And so that opportunity of mentoring on a professional level, I realized my passion in just like serving others and helping others, especially moms in business and women in business. And so it really inspired me to start a networking group that I started. It's called Charp Connections, and it just helps other business women get together, other moms, working moms. You don't even have to be an entrepreneur, but just like-minded women that are just trying to get through life, through like work-life balance, through managing toddlers, through, I'm also our oldest is he's in a senior year. So managing that whole thing with college, I mean, life throws so many different things at us. And it goes back to what I was saying before about having a support system. And there's just no way that we can navigate motherhood, entrepreneurship, or just like women in business, or just like being a woman in today's society without a strong community. And so that's my fellow moms really inspired that for me. And so we have a series of networking events and wellness workshops that we started doing. And that's not something that ever really crossed my mind when I started my business, that I would be also doing events. I mean, having had a background in events, but that wasn't necessarily part of my business model when I started, that I would also be doing events for my community, so that's been a really pleasant surprise. But again, it's just being open to opportunity and just like leaning into like what feels good and like what your gut is telling you. And then it provides new opportunities, and it feels so good to just give back and connect with just really great women like you, like even doing podcasts now. That was never part of my plan a few years ago. So it's great to be able to connect with people in that way.
Yeah, and I hear you on that because like I would have never, if you would have told me like 5 years ago, you're going to be doing a podcast, I'd have been like, me? Like, no, there's no way
Yeah.
I'm going to be speaking to people, random people that I do not know, asking them about their stories. Like, that's never going to happen. But I love it. And it's really helped me to, get out of my shell, get uncomfortable, do things that I normally wouldn't have done. And like you said, just being in the back end of helping other people with their businesses or helping companies do the work that you were hired to do, being in the forefront is a completely different story, and you have to get out of your shell in that way.
Oh yeah. And also, I agree with you so much. I think that also another thing that it's helped me with is personal speaking. or
Yes.
public speaking, not personal speaking, public speaking, because that was something that, in my corporate life, like I always had to do presentations and I would always just feel myself turning red. Like I was just so overwhelming for me. It gave me so much anxiety. I remember just like losing sleep over it the night before a big presentation. It was just, you know what I mean? It just like really like was the worst for me. Um, and then through mentorship and just, it didn't feel like it was like a public speaking thing because it was just like on a really cool laid back level. And little did I know, looking back, I was practicing, I was
Yeah.
practicing speaking with people and then having to do presentations and having to do things like that. And then it was just, again, it's like one of those things where you're looking back and you're like, oh, I could like do that now. And that doesn't really stress me anymore. Like it's fun. I'm excited about it now. So that's been a really nice thing where I've been able to face my fears and I'm much more comfortable. I still cringe when I hear myself like when I have to watch myself being recorded or listen to myself. I like don't enjoy that too much. But in the moment, I don't think about that as much.
Right. Yeah. Like right now, I don't think about it. But when I go back and like I listen to edit and upload it, I'm like, oh my gosh. And then also when it actually launches on, you get the Apple notification that a podcast is out that you're subscribed to, I'm like, oh no, I can't listen to that.
Yes. Yes. No, I hear you. I hear you. I said this recently to someone else, but I was joking that the first time I ever heard myself on a podcast, I was like, it could have been a drinking game. The amount of times that I said, or like, I was like, oh my, it was just so embarrassing. But it's just the way I talk. Like, there's only so much editing you can do. Like, this is just
Yeah.
natural conversations. And I like that you get to see, especially like for us in our careers, in the business that we do. I think it's important that people can see us in our authentic self because it'd be one thing if they hear you in a recording and then they meet you in person, you're like, that's what happened to you. Like, that doesn't sound like you at all. So,
Right.
what you see is what you get.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why I like doing. Yeah, and that's why I like doing these like authentic conversations where it's not so like prompted with questions and you have
Yeah.
these questions that you answer. It's more conversational because it really allows you to just be authentic and get the authentic nature of the other person as well. So
Totally.
I'm
Yeah.
loving it. I'm loving it.
Me too.
And so you have the networking events that you do.
Yeah.
You also, I don't think you mentioned your podcast, but I
Oh
believe you have
no.
a podcast.
So I've been I was gonna say guesting, but I don't think that's a word, right? I've been yeah. So I do podcasts as a way of serving as a guest. So I don't
Oh,
host
okay.
my own. Actually it's funny the number of people that have asked me if I had one or like want like kind of I guess hoped that I had one or wanted me to have one. I don't know. It seems like a lot of work. So I really admire what you do, but that's why I like to come on as a guest, especially for podcasts that I like yours, because I just love supporting women in business and, women that are vulnerable enough to go out there and like create a podcast takes a lot of time, energy, and work and creativity and planning. Like there's so much that goes into a podcast that a lot of people don't realize. And but I do realize it, and that's why I know I'm not really prepared to do this yet.
Listen, you guys do all the work for me though. Like I come on here, you guys do all the talking, you share your story. And so that's why I love the way that I'm doing it because like it's your story. Like you can't go wrong with someone else sharing their story on it. And it's inspirational and empowering to other women that are, trying to come up in entrepreneurship as well.
Yeah. Well, when I do have one, if and when I do have one, you'll be my guest. You'll be
Oh,
one of the first, for sure.
yes, I would love to. Absolutely, 100%.
And we'll play this moment back in my clip.
Yes,
We talked about
100%. And so like okay, so you talk about like, being an introvert and doing all the things with, your mom, you have your business and excuse me. So how would what type of advice or anything would you give to other moms who are like overwhelmed with the demands of like running a business and a family at the same time?
Mm-hmm. Start small. Because I think, not I think, I know just from a lot of women in that situation that I've worked with in the past where they have this dream, but they're like, I'm working full time. I want to leave what I'm doing because it's not bringing me joy. I'm not satisfied. But how do I like make something happen so that way I can get to a point where I can leave my job? And also I have my kids, how is that even possible? But it is possible because anything that matters to you, you'll make time for, right? So like if going to the gym is important to you, you find time to go. If eating is important to you, you find time to cook a meal. And you know what I mean? So it's like you find the time to do certain things. So I, I had to be super creative when I started my business because I had an infant. So I did lean into my support system at that time. So it was my husband, it was those around me that could, hold the baby for a few minutes so I could jump on a phone call. Like there was a lot of that in the beginning. But I think it's great when a mom has a child that is either like in some kind of program, not even like daycare or nanny, but like some kind of school program or something where you're like, okay, I know that they're going to be in this for an hour or two. What can I get done in like 30 minutes? Like be realistic about your time. And honestly, a lot of my work too, when I first started my business, and even still sometimes now, a bulk of my work will get done after they go to bed. Like I'm really strict about bedtime because mommy's got stuff to do. So it's like, we have our routines and we stick to our routines, and I appreciate the structure. I know my children appreciate the structure. They know what's expected. And then I kind of have that expectation of, okay, this is my time for after they go to bed. And then I'm not going to stay up until like 2:00 in the morning. Of course, I'm going to be realistic because I need my sleep in order to get up in the morning and function and do everything that I need to do the next day. But I think if you understand your schedule and you know what works for you, you can find pockets of time to allocate to like little things. You start small. You're not going to build a whole website and do all these things, a whole social media campaign, email marketing, automations, all these things in a night. You got to be realistic. So what I would say is brain dump. I'm a huge fan of brain dumping. Like brain dump everything you need to do, like everything that you need to do, and then pick out things that are achievable in this coming week. So maybe you have an hour to yourself this coming week. What's something that you can get done in like 30 minutes? Is it a little bit of research? Is it whatever? I don't know what your business is. So figure out how you can make it work, but put it on the calendar, because if you don't block off time and you don't actually make a plan to get something done, you'll never do it. It's like saying like in the new year, I want to lose 10 pounds, but then it's like, you never plan time to like go for the walk. You bought the sneakers, you bought the sports bra, like you have like cute stuff, you have your Stanley, right? Like you have all this stuff, but then you like never make the plan to like go for the walk, or you never make the grocery list with the healthy meals, right? Like all that requires planning. But then if you need support to do that, like that's what coaches and mentors and like your support system is for. And like, you don't have to feel like you know everything, because like all of us have help with different things. Some of us might have help with, watching our kids for a few hours. Some of us might have help by delegating some of the work that we have to do in our business, so if you need guidance getting started, like there's so many people that are happy to help you, and like resources out there for you to just get started, but you just got to make a plan to do it. If it's
right. Yeah. And so kids have a specific bedtime, and you're able to do the things that you want to do. How else are you keeping your cup filled?
You mean for myself?
Yeah, for yourself.
Oh, I love a pedicure. I love to treat myself to a pedicure. I love trying different coffee shops. I love coffee. So I love like going for a ride, finding a cute coffee shop. I'm very simple. I'm like easy to please. I enjoy cooking. So I love, finding a new recipe and like making it a fun night and that's something like, I love spending time with my family. So that's something where it's like, it's a fun thing I can do with my family. Today is Friday, and we traditionally have pizza night on Friday. So we'll like get the dough, we'll make all this, you know what I mean? And it's like having those fun traditions, like that's what fills my cup, you know, being able to spend that time with my family. And that's a whole, again, like a huge portion of why I'm doing what I'm doing as an entrepreneur, is so I can be there to make those memories. So my kids fill my cup, my coffee fills my cup, and my pedicures. Like, I'm very simple.
I love that. Yes, a good pedicure, manicure, maybe a glass of wine or something.
Yes.
Just
Simple.
Good book.
Yes,
Yes.
exactly. I'm very simple.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, before we close out, I want to play this like really quick rapid fire favorites type of game. So I have 8 questions. First thing that comes to mind, just throw it out there.
I'm nervous. I feel like I'm in Jimmy Fallon. He does this, right? Oh my gosh.
All right.
Okay.
They're low key. They're very simple and low key, just based around like business and a little personal questions about who you are.
Okay.
All right. So, favorite business tool or app?
Ooh, Canva.
Canva. Coffee or tea?
Ooh, coffee. That was an easy one.
Morning person or night owl?
Night owl.
Night owl, yeah. Favorite way to unwind after a long day?
Something mindless on Netflix or something like that. Something to binge.
Yeah. One word that describes you as an entrepreneur.
Scrappy.
Scrappy.
Yeah.
Very resourceful.
Yeah, resourceful.
What is your go-to snack during work?
Ooh, chocolate covered pretzels. Guilty pleasure. I don't have them all the time, but they're like my favorite snack.
What's your guilty pleasure TV show?
Oh my God. You know, I'm going to say the Kardashians. I'm so
sorry. Yeah. I used to watch them all the time. I don't really watch them as much now.
I know, because I don't have a Hulu account.
Yeah.
They're on Hulu now.
Yeah. All right. And last one, what is your dream vacation destination?
Oh my gosh. I'm going to say like Bora Bora. I wanted to go there for my honeymoon, but when I realized how far the flight was, I'm like such a nervous flyer. So I was like, yeah, I'm not even gonna look at that. But that would be like a dream for me. If I could get over how long the travel is, that would be my dream. Like,
that's crazy. That is my like number one. I can't wait to like travel to go to Bora Bora. Yes.
Oh my gosh. We'll go together.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll plan it, get over the long flight and just go.
We'll pack lots of chocolate pretzels and watch the Kardashians.
I'll have the Hulu account.
If we can afford a ticket to Bora Bora, we'll be able to afford Hulu.
Yeah. Yes.
We'll be good.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming on today. For the listeners that would like to learn more about Michelle, please share where they can find you.
Yeah, so my website is charpconsulting.com, CHARP, Charp Consulting, and I'm on LinkedIn. So please find me on LinkedIn. I love connecting with new people. I love chatting with new people. Just happy to connect. And if there's any way that I can support people, even if it's like a like, happy to do it.
Thank you so much.